Sure, it's been a long time since we've recorded. It feels like it's been ages since we've recorded one of these.
Yeah, because Kara and I did the last one.
You guys did the last one. Okay, I'll do that intro. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CAYACast. Today I am joined by Gino on that end of the couch. We've got Durant, I'm Brad, and joining us on the CAYACast today, the unfamiliar face on the couch, is Mr. Jonathan Stephen Simons, singer, songwriter, musician, guitarist, producer, recording engineer. There's a whole bunch of different frontman of a variety of operations in the Cape Town music scene throughout the years. So, yeah, that was my intro of you. How would you like to be introduced? What do you think gets missing? What do you think is the most critical element of you that gets missed out in an intro like that?
Well, you started off well because you said my name right. At the moment, at all the different venues, they're spelling my name differently every time on the lineups and stuff. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
I don't know. You kind of said everything.
Nice. I did a good job.
I like making music.
Yeah. That's the core of it. We met in 2019.
Yeah.
And you guys played at one of the shows of my first company, Audiophiles.
At the Color Lab.
At the Color Lab, where one of the places where that guitar was made. History. Since then, you've performed in a number of different bands that you've frontmanned with different combinations of various icons of the Cape Town music industry. Let's do a proper catch up from there. Obviously, the year after that, everyone was excited about live music. Then we went into COVID, which we'll get into as a musician and as a songwriter and as a performer because it obviously made a big difference to a lot of people. But give people a rundown of your musical journey since early 2019.
So I think early 2019 we were still playing as Fractals. I think the
that
lineup was Fractals.
I think that's who's written on the guitar.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So Fractals was kind of, I'd been trying for a couple of years to find the right people to kind of go into a music project with a band mentality as opposed to just being creative director kind of role. And that was when we had just started really figuring out ourselves live. And the only reason that band stopped being a band is COVID. So we'll get to that later. But basically released an album as Fractals as COVID hit, just ended up having time. So we had a couple singles as Fractals before that album. I remember you sent me a very nice message about our old song Serendipity.
I was gonna talk about that.
No. Recorded an album, part one, still very proud of it. It was a big learning curve. It wasn't the best it could be, but I suppose you shouldn't ever strive for anything to be the best straight away. And that album did really well. I think we got to like 100,000 album streams or something in the first year. And that was in the peak of not really being able to play anywhere to promote it. So that kind of got pressured out during COVID because it forced a lot of tough life choices on some of the band members. And I still, nothing bad happened. I still have lots of love for everyone. And Ray and Steve from Fractals are still my band members in Jonathan Stephen Simons or JSS. And what I learned from the Fractals thing was that I didn't necessarily like having to wait for input on stuff. I felt like I could be a lot more creatively true if I went into more of like a flow state kind of thing, got into a rhythm, made a lot of decisions that were consistent and, started trusting my own ears more than anything. Because that's what Fractals taught me, is that it was great to be in that band environment, but I needed to acknowledge how long I've been in the industry now. So that kind of happened just before COVID for me, which was great. Our shows were going really well as well. It was also shaping up to be a really exciting year. Sure. But it feels a bit like that's carried over a bit now to now. Yeah. There's a really good feel in the industry at the moment.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of momentum going into 2020 for live music. Yeah. And then it paused, but everyone really just paused the energy because now coming into this summer season, people are Absolutely.
And festivals are kicking up again.
I just think the sad thing is the spaces, like the venues and everything, like has significantly decreased. The energy's still there.
Rip Mercury.
Rip
Mercury.
Raptor Room.
Yeah.
Aces and Spades.
Rip, yeah.
Aces.
I know it's a different name, but Rip Aces and Spades.
Rip the actual Aces and Spades, you know, the proper one. Like all of those venues now are gone, and as a fact of the matter now there's a lot less space to kind of keep that momentum.
It does also feel like there's I'm meeting a lot of people at the moment though that are kind of trying to change that, and they're kind of acting as the middleman, like Josh from Foul Play, who's organizing all the district stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think his mentality is great, and he's making events happen all over the place. We played a show in Hout Bay with him, where I bumped into you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, man.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So I think as tough as it is that the venues are closing down, or have closed down, it does seem like there's a lot more venues at the moment that are looking to put live music on. So I think that next year is a really exciting.
And a note on that is the Foul Play events at District. I went to the one where it was LE and Shadow Club, and for some reason, and like no shade, I always happen to go to the lineups where Year of Dogs plays.
Oh yeah,
like every single time. I think I've seen them perform more than anybody else because they're just always on the lineup that I go to, or I'm working.
They're on a lot of lineups at the moment, I think.
But it's like shout out to Josh from Foul Play, because like that was such a homecoming for me. The Shadow Club gig, especially, it's just the mosh was so good.
Those guys shredding on.
Yeah, so it's a good energy, and I do like it's great that people are doing that, you know.
And the more the merrier.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think you're right. There are more venues now who are opening up to the prospect of doing live music. Shout out the Kaya Cafe while I'm doing it.
Oh yeah,
major shameless plug.
I'll
but
come play in
I was going to say, well, there goes my segue. Anyways, we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
But what's been really exciting is seeing there's other restaurants like doing open mic nights and different people who maybe even before COVID might not have been interested in live music or wanted to perform themselves, or, you know, and it seems like there's a lot of energy and passion from a lot of different people and new people coming into the scene, and it's younger people who are wanting to open different spaces that do different things. And I mean, I think for all of us as big fans of live music in Cape Town, it's very, very, very exciting.
Yes.
How do I want to segue this? You actually let's just continue into this year.
Yeah.
As COVID has started to wind, its impact on the live music has started to decrease.
Taper off.
People are excited about writing and releasing and performing releases again. As you mentioned, the first album that you released is Fractals. You couldn't perform, which
it was.
I mean, I know for you and for so many people, the performance of it is at least as much as the recording and the releasing.
And it was a very performance-based album because it was about being a band and making band decisions and stuff. So yeah, that was a bit of a. So
coming out of that, and as this year has progressed, you have released another body of work, another album. And what is? I mean, tell us about the album as a whole. And I want to get into the songwriting and everything, but how has that been different from that experience releasing in early 2022? And what surprised you that you didn't think would?
Yeah, I think it's just the power. You know, everyone kind of forgot the power of performing something you're releasing. How much easier it is for you to make that connection with the listener, where you engage them, and then that's where their fanship will start, or whatever. If they'll start liking your music. So this story, the album actually has quite a backstory. Because, I don't want to talk about COVID too much, but it was rough. And luckily, in a small town in the deep south in Komaki, where I now have moved because I love it there so much, there was a little restaurant called The Green Room that let me, a little bit illegally, busk every night on a Wednesday for like 4 months. And they kind of, it was just for donations and stuff, but people were so generous. at the beginning of that process, it very much felt like I was starting to try and think of something else to do because I didn't know how, like I needed something else. That's what it felt like. Because for me, it's always been nothing but music. I've found ways to make a living in music as a producer, doing corporate work. And so that being able to play in Komiki and the people that I met there that have now become like some of my favorite people and are huge fans and supporters and positive influences on me and stuff, kind of drove me back into self-belief, because with obviously it's never nice to have like a band that you put like 3 years into fall apart, but there were just reasons and there was no anger or whatever, but it felt a bit like, okay, what now? And having that opportunity to play there I think I played there for like 6 months every Wednesday, and it eventually towards the end we had to stop because the neighbors said they were going to call the police because the shows were getting so rowdy with people like banging on the tables and stuff by the end. Yeah, man, such fun memories. So this album, To Change the Weather, is actually a tribute to all that. And they're all songs I kind of wrote in that period. Some of it has to do with the end of Fractals, and most of it has to do with me and my growth. And I think it's a very powerful thing as an artist to analyze yourself, because you can find a lot of inspiration for creativity in yourself. You don't have to look around for it. And I think that's when a lot of true expression happens as well, is because it is within ourselves that we are sharing outwards, and that's what people make the connection with. So To Change the Weather for me was very much about, okay, we're not going forward as a band, but I love making music, and I honestly, like, I have no self-control. I must make music. That's how my brain processes it. So coming out of all that, I recorded about 12 songs. The list was originally like 18, but I cut it down a bit and made something that I'm really, really proud of. And we actually listened to it on the drive here now in the car, and I'm just like geeking out over every song, like so happy with the choices I made and stuff. And the album was very much about becoming the producer that I wanted to work with, because I kind of had like a negative experience. Straight out of high school, I started working at a record label and had a kind of negative experience with a producer. Not like negative, but he showed me how I didn't want to work. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No shade either. Yeah. But so my goal kind of, I've only recently acknowledged it, but I think my goal for a while, especially from 2019 to now, since you asked, was I wanted to become a producer that I felt could do justice to the way I wanted my music to sound. And creating this album was for me about establishing that, making those decisions, being sure of everything, and making sure I liked all my decisions. And then just to start a new project, it's pretty handy to have an album out for people to listen to when you have nothing else out before. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Absolutely. And have you, I mean, you have been gigging, I know, to some degree. What's the audience reception been of the album live?
It's just because we didn't get to perform the other album at all, but at every single show there's someone that comes up to me afterwards and says something amazing about like a song that they loved or they connected with, or so the reception has been unreal. I'm a very happy person at the moment, like, and we've even printed hard copies, for the full. We got a booklet printed with all the lyrics in it.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
just because that's for me. But people are loving that as well, because I kind of did a thing on the album where all those close friends that were coming to the green room the whole time when I was playing my shows, I got them all in for a listening party right at the end. I was playing them my final mixes. Hadn't mastered yet, but I was playing them my final mixes. And on 2 of the songs, we actually recorded in a whole bunch of gang vocals with them.
Cool.
Yeah. So all their names are in the booklet, and they love the lyric books, and they'll sing along a little bit again. And
no, it's definitely something to be said about that, like physical, having something.
It adds weight.
Yeah, it's also a conversation we actually had this past weekend. Like James from Indian Minor, and they like printing. They were some of the first people in Cape Town, South Africa, were like pushing vinyl. And it's just like, it's so cool to just, I'm a little bit peeved because he was like, I have one who has a vinyl player. My hand was up like all the way in the back, but obviously you didn't see it. So he just gave it to, like, I was like, flip, I could have gotten a free vinyl. But it's just like having something that's so physical. as a supporter.
Check the cable.
Wahoo.
Hello? Okay. Yeah, and just having something like physical as a supporter of this artist, I think it's so cool. And like, like
Hold
having
on, Dre. Your
people's
seems to be.
names and the booklets, it's so cool.
When you fiddled with it a bit, then it came through.
Maybe you're in and out.
Yeah. Nice.
Hello.
You're great.
Okay. Well, that was my point.
Well,
Did it
I
pick
hope
up?
I assume so.
it will have picked up for a second. It's
Mm.
fine.
Yeah.
I want to pivot things, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
very glad. I'm very stoked that that's been the reception of the album, and that's how you're feeling. That I think, yeah, just very glad about that. You also ventured a while ago, and this is coming from our media background, into Mountainside Studios
Cool.
Yeah.
and the
I wanna
performance recordings that you guys did there. I mean, like, I always loved watching them. It was so fun. It was something so fresh and new that we hadn't had in Cape Town for such a long time, and something similar that we've been doing in different ways and really loved doing, and having a platform for local artists to have that. Talk us through the initial kind of idea behind Mountainside Studios and the YouTube channel aspect of it as well, and then what that experience was like. Apologies for that fucking
Get
fly
out of
that
here,
is
bloody
being
fly.
very rude.
Invading my
Kill it,
personal
Dre.
space. Yeah, that's so nice. No one actually ever asks me about Mountainside sessions and stuff.
I wanted to ask that.
So Mountainside Studios is just the name of my company that I
Okay.
work out of, and the YouTube channel was Mountainside Sessions. So
Yeah.
it was kind of, when did they start? Around 2017, I think.
Yeah,
2017,
I remember
2018,
watching,
until about the end of 2019-ish, we did them. And it was basically just seeing how hard it was for myself to get shows without having something performance-based to show people. And it just felt like there was no one. There was like a couple of old places that did it, but they were all like old Cape Town classic clicky nonsense. So it was all about like they just helped their friends and stuff. It wasn't about helping the industry.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
So we basically, I had the idea of doing the sessions even as in podcast format or something. And luckily I just met Josh Hundermark, who's a fantastic man, and him and I were very good friends for a long time now. Unfortunately, life is quite busy on this side, and my life's quite busy that side, so we don't really see each other all that much anymore. But we're going to be relaunching the Mountainside Sessions next year in some. We're still figuring it out, but there has been a big space that's been become available to me,
Oh, very cool.
and it's sound treated already. So
Oh, delightful.
and it's very close to my house, so
Oh,
we
that's-
might
I mean,
be
about as
onto
good as it
something.
gets.
I want to try and start that up again in February next year,
That's
Okay.
very exciting.
because I kind of have some goals before February that I want to just get done. Mountainside Sessions was just Josh and I saying, how can we help? Like, how can we want to exist in this industry? We want this industry to grow and thrive.
Yeah.
And let's say that in South Africa, infrastructure is not a natural occurrence
Yeah.
when it comes to the music industry, is how we saw it anyway. So it was just about being able to help out people that we thought were really good and deserved the leg up. I don't think we ever actually said no to anyone. The only thing that ever happened was once or twice people got there like 2 hours late and then like
Oh.
didn't take it very seriously.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
just didn't. We were like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we were trying to help.
So
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
So we did that for free for like a year. Josh would come through on a Saturday, like once a month, because the studio was in Glencairn at my house. It was just my work studio, but there was luckily just enough space.
You
in
guys
there.
made it cute.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
tables
cute.
and the plants and the lights and yeah. So that was that, and that kind of forced me into loving, like, live performance sound again, because it's a whole different beast to producing and stuff. And that's actually how I started in music entirely, was as a sound engineer. So we did that for as long as we could. The submissions started slowing down a bit, so we thought we would take a break. And then after that break, we did some Mountainside lives that were really cool.
Remember those?
We did
yeah.
some really cool ones. We did one with Bongaziwe Mabantla. We did one with really cool Michaela Faye, like really cool people. Jack Thomas as well, fantastic singer, man. So that was really cool, and the goal of that was to see how can we take this idea that we had in the studio environment and turn it into a live and make it would become more interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, it would give people like a half an hour set on YouTube,
Yeah.
which is almost more powerful than the individual videos because it is on a stage.
Yeah.
And people that
And it's
don't know
performance to a
exactly.
crowd as opposed to performance for video.
And those were really cool. And I think we were going to keep doing them, but then COVID hit.
yeah.
Because we started doing some like live performance stuff. We did something at the aquarium with Dave from Southern Wild and the Steezies and and Noza. And
On Southern Wild playing a show again soon?
I think so.
I think I saw something on their Instagram. I think they're playing, is it maybe at House of Machines?
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
Because they're still going as the 3-piece now.
Yes.
They're working with Theo now out in Belleville.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I think we've always, been on the same page as well about needing these spaces, whether they're live, whether they are, in the media landscape for, and you touched on it a few times while you were chatting, spaces that aren't the old clicky spaces where you have to know the right people and people only help out their friends, spaces where artists do get access to infrastructure that's super, super important and infrastructure and like necessary building blocks to actually, as you said, like successfully booking. People underestimate the power of performance footage. Like you actually need a video of you playing because no one's going to book you for what you sound like on SoundCloud.
Not everyone that's booking you is necessarily a musician.
Exactly.
It's about making it easy for them to see it in their space.
Yeah, exactly.
To visualize it.
Exactly. And good booking agents know that what you sound like on a recorded, mastered track
It's not.
can have
exactly.
very little in
Yeah.
common with what
Yeah.
you sound like live. And we need those spaces that are more open-ended and that do cater, more to everybody. I like, you didn't say no to anyone, with the important caveat that if you rock up too late to shit that people are doing as a favor to you, that's not acceptable.
It's just
Don't
you're
do
making
that.
yourself hard to help.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a very horrible thing to do to people. What do you think are the things that we need to be focusing on as a Cape Town music industry and as a community of artists and producers and managers and engineers and techs to take the music industry in Cape Town? What are those things that we need to do to really level up and make the most of what I think is immense potential and capacity?
Cape Town and South Africa have got a fantastic potential. They always have. Like as long as I've been in this industry, there's been that potential.
Yeah.
And I think in Cape Town especially what's held us back is just that going back to it's not like throwing shade at anyone either, but there was a clickiness,
Absolutely.
It's very much broken down now. And what we need to do, in my opinion, to level up the industry is like, it's the same thing as with the videos from Mountainside Sessions. If you want to be in an industry, you have to add to the industry.
Yeah.
And there's some people that might have gotten like a bit more comfortable with not going out as much now. For them, the best thing would be just go out to an event. You will remind yourself of how fun it is to see live music.
Yeah.
As producers, collaborate more, share the work. As mixing engineers, bounce off each other. If you work for different companies, share the work. If you need an extra hand, just get someone from another company. It's all that intermingling and connecting.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between I've got a good insight and someone that works with me from Germany in that industry. So I have a good comparison.
Yeah.
And it's just that they are not afraid to connect on every level. They are not afraid to say, okay, yeah, let's do a show together.
Yeah.
That's the main thing I think we need to do, is just not be afraid of working together.
Yeah. 100%. Fucking.
I actually wanted to say as well, before we got off the Mountainside Sessions, shout out to Zetu from Rockin' the Daisies, because she almost helped us do something amazing with that. Because we were basically going to do Mountainside Sessions of like all the headlining acts the year before COVID. So we were going to do it with the 1975 and Tash Sultana.
Wow.
And
That's hard to,
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah, I think we all just went,
they
Just
really
thinking
really
about
wanted
it.
to make it happen. The only thing that just didn't let it happen was just the security, the level of security that they demanded from, like they had security teams
Yeah.
per artist and stuff. And I get it.
Mm-hmm.
No, go to some dude's house and record a session. It's
Yeah,
like-
it does sound a little
It is a
bit.
bit-
but that would have been epic. So just wanted to say thank you to her as well. Yeah.
Shout out to Zetu for
Yeah.
just being generally an absolute asset and hero in the
In the
music
industry,
industry in South Africa. And I think what is really exciting is we've got all of these exciting young people coming into the industry and starting to do these things who think differently
Yeah.
to the, there's only so much,
They weren't wrapped up in it before. You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a new
exactly.
perspective.
It's very different. And it's a hugely different attitude, and I'm so grateful for it
Yeah.
because it's what I think will redeem, the future of our industry and make it something that I think is incredibly exciting, and the where it's going is super exciting.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump in?
No. I'm just from my side. It's like like talking about how clicky it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was really difficult, and I think me and Brad, we've kind of entered the music industry scene at roughly the same time, and that's why I said like I know who you were talking of, and it was literally just I'm gonna be as blunt as possible. It's a bunch of like 35-year-olds, who just literally just helping out their homies, and like it became very difficult to find like places to, even just perform as a band, or even just like. You look at these venues, these iconic venues, and like, I really want to perform there. And then, fast forward 2 years, those 35-year-olds, they are now, kind of sick and tired, and they want a change of career and everything. And now those spaces,
So they're finally letting go.
those spaces were struggling, at the time. And then, boom, COVID hit at, I think, roughly that exact point when those certain individuals were kind of letting their grip a little bit more loose.
Yeah.
So I just think like now it is such a time for us to kind of like build those spaces and build the community
Exactly.
around, like you're saying, like even from the sound mixing, like is collaborate and like talk to
Share the work,
share the work,
grow
and
the industry. To just work a bit harder, I guess.
yeah.
The one thing while we were talking about like what the things that we need to do to progress the industry and have spaces that are more, inviting. I think the audience side of it and the market side of it is a huge part, because we can be putting on all the shows that we want, and everyone in the industry can be very excited about working together, but there has to be a equivalent response from audiences. And Gina, I wanted to ask you, because you've also with the cafe and also just having been to a lot of these shows, but more often not directly involved in the production, what do you think we need to be doing in terms of audiences and building brands and in community in the, you're not live music diehards, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. We are seeing this huge resurgence internationally of immense interest back in live music. People are, absolutely frothing at the mouth to be at a live music show. But where do you think the gap is in getting people from, not being as engaged as after COVID, everything, to actually, getting out and supporting these kinds of shows?
Yeah, it's something that I actually wanted to comment on earlier when you said you have to give, to like, I don't know, like advance yourself or the creative industry. And I feel like, and this is with audiences, and audiences are often people with a similar interest or even people within the creative industry. I don't want to say it's a lot of people, but I feel like people are pretty selfish, and they don't understand that like you have to give to get kind of thing, and that can even be your time supporting somebody at a show. You know, I think that if there was an easy answer, we would be fixing it maybe a lot faster. I just see like a bit of selfishness. Even in my friends, in my circles, is what can I get from that experience? Sometimes you just have to give of yourself, and you're probably going to get a lot in that, but without the expectation of getting. I don't know if that makes sense. I think people just need to like chill a little.
Go support live music just because why not?
You'll surprise yourself.
You know, there doesn't need to be like no entrance fee or a crazy drink special or an event that you can go out later at a club and get like absolutely whatever. Just like go and like feed your soul a little, you know? I don't know. But I don't know how to get people to realize that. Listen to me. I don't know. Burn some sage before you walk out the door. I don't know.
Would you say that was as prevalent before COVID as it is now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of people more selective with what they did and their time and their money before COVID as they are now. Possibly not. I think we're maybe getting back into a routine of just attending more events. In the beginning, it was a bit strange. It was like, well, am I going to go? Am I not going to go?
Yeah. That's what I think, that selfishness, because I mean, selfishness is quite a heavy word, but I don't think it stems from anything malicious. I think what COVID had was more than anything like a psychological effect on all of us. And I think a lot of people became a lot more defensive when they were going out in every sense of the word. You know, everyone felt like they needed to be on high alert. Can I spend my money now? I don't know if I have a job next week, because what if something happens again? You know that. And that kind of carried over subconsciously for a lot longer than any of us thought it would. And I think that's the thing. That's why I said as well, you just go out and just remind yourself of how fun it can be.
Once you do it once, it's like a bite.
I can think of very few times where I like either planned or unplanned went and watched like live music
and didn't enjoy
didn't have a good time. And if I did, you know, sometimes there are people on stage who are just objectively shit. That also happens. And we need to talk about that. But then you've got a good story, man. Fuck it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you went out and this dude was an absolute howler and his guitar was out of tune. It's a good story. It makes you sound cultured and it'll be something you remember for the rest of your life. Like, and that's the thing. It'll be something you remember for the rest of your life. And, you know.
I mean, backtrack to where I bumped into you in Harper at Oktoberfest. I unfortunately missed your set because I was running like errands but I saw the lineup and it's literally a stone's throw away from my house. I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I know Jonathan Stevens. I gotta go see. I'm like, who the fuck's Face Jackson? I don't know.
And didn't they throw down?
But I arrived literally as you guys were like stepping off stage. I was like, so bleak. But my mates were like, fuck, they're awesome. You know, I was like, oh, yeah. All right. The guys from Face Jackson, I've never heard of them before. They
are so much fun, dude.
Threw a jaw, you know.
We love those guys.
And that was
We've
just so
played 2 shows
nice.
with them now.
It was just so nice because I've never seen a lineup with them because obviously they're not Year of Dogs. So, but that was like even them like just going there. Like I was genuinely going to go see you. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. But then I saw them. I was like, this is
still been worth it. Exactly.
Nice surprise, and also the beers. Like I saw like a. Side note, I just saw it was an 80-year-old man who was attempting to carry, I think, like 20 of those Steiners, those 1 liter beer mugs.
He's a math question man.
Yeah, 100%. He was like carrying.
If Joe carries 20 beers,
and he stacked the one on top. But like I saw, and I was right next to this guy at the bar. I saw like, oh, and then one of them slipped off and just spilled all over my shoes, and I'm like, oh, that's fine, you know. And he's like, no, bring me another one. Stacked back on top, went outside. I was like, okay, fun, Oktoberfest. Guy kind of messed up my shoes, but then he gave me two 1 liter beers.
No. I was going to say you deserve compensation. I was going to say you deserved compensation for that.
But yeah, Face Jackson, they're awesome. Like, genuinely.
They are such lovely guys as well.
Yeah.
Do you know we met with them? No.
Pardon?
Oh, well, Brad and I met with them.
Oh.
Yeah, so we might
yeah.
be seeing them very soon.
Mm.
Oh,
So it's lovely to hear that you enjoyed the show.
yeah, but two of the guys, actually, I think they crashed Jared's birthday party.
Nice.
Oh, serious?
Oh, yes, you do know Rick.
Face
yes.
Jackson knows everybody
Yeah,
in
no.
different ways.
And Ray's the drummer now.
Yeah, I did know that. We did
yeah.
know Ray was the drummer. We had a
Oh, he's a
chat with him.
perfect fit. He's
And he
such a
was-
perfect fit.
Yeah, even aesthetically.
Mhm.
He even got the long hair.
Exactly.
It's a strong visual
Yeah.
visual identity.
Yeah, we'll be doing some shows with them next year for sure.
That's
Nice.
super exciting.
You know,
That's
we
very
would have
cool.
done one in December, but unfortunately, some of my band people are away. No.
Well, we'll hold out for next
Mm.
year. I think the rest of this year is gonna be insane.
Hmm.
Speaking of next year, you mentioned you've got some goals to achieve by February. We've got some shows happening early in the year, some with Face
Mhm.
Jackson, I assume some without. And then from February, potentially, hopefully, holding on to touch wood, Mountainside Sessions comes back.
It should. I have the hunger.
Early
again.
next
I
year.
really have that hunger again. So
That's-
it should come back.
That's super exciting. Is there anything that, of those things that I mentioned, that either you want to touch on more and tell us a little bit more about, or anything that I've missed that's very exciting coming up next year?
Mm,
Names, places, faces, dates.
well, on this Sunday, we're playing a really cool show with Hartleyville at Cafe Root in Nuremberg.
Oh, duh.
And we're doing like a double header kind of. It's not easy for the town guys to get slots
Yeah,
at Cafe Root
yeah.
because they don't live there and they have, I've lived there for a long time and I've kind of built a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So we're inviting them that side and then they're inviting us this side to
Cool.
kind of, this is what it all ties into the whole sharing of
Mm.
crowds and sharing your
Mm.
influence. And if you can expose people that you know and think are cool people to new music that you think is cool,
Yeah.
isn't that a good enough excuse to
Yeah.
do something like that?
Yeah.
But for me, my goals next year are I write too many songs, man. I'm just I want to release like 6 or 8 singles by June or something.
Nice.
And then I'm just going to record a double album for August, I think.
Do it.
Nice.
Because there was songs that I had to, it's like the light and the dark. It's like a lot of my music is upbeat and happy, but then a lot of it is very reflective and can come across as a bit sad, even if the message itself isn't sad of the song. So it's kind of appealing to me to do a double album so that the one can be like the dark stuff and the one can be just the thumpers and the fun stuff, because my band has really come together in the last couple months.
I would love to
Like-
hear you and Steve and Ray.
And
who
Ant.
else is in the band?
And Mr. Bardo. So
Okay.
this is someone that I met in Cormacky who has become solidly my best friend.
Legend.
Shreds, absolute shredder. He completely understands me musically. I've never had this kind of like completely intuitive musical relationship with someone. He lives in Cormacky with me as well, so we rehearse like twice a week, just the 2
Nice.
guitars, just jamming out. Not only he's like letting me use his Blues Junior at the moment. He's given me 2 guitar pedals to just use, and he's just a very enabling person. And he kind of was a big fan of Fractals, and he really loved the album.
Cool.
And he was kind of pioneering the whole big energy that then became those green room shows, because he was be the one riling everyone up and getting the thumping going, and so those became really special because of him. And we kind of started having some jams together, and it just seemed so natural. So the first show he played with us was at Camel Rock, and it was actually still a Fractals show. I think that was our last show as Fractals.
I actually
at the-
remember that.
at the
when
Camel
being
Rock in
advertised,
Scarborough. Yeah. Shout out to Angel, sound guy, such a lovely dude.
yeah. Thank you. See, it's because you were a sound guy. Not enough people shout out the sound guys, and you will know this, and everyone. If you make friends with the sound guy, if you are an artist,
Yeah.
and the first thing you do when you walk into a venue is you just go and you shake the hand of the sound guy and
You're
you
gonna have
ask
a
them
good
their
time.
name and say, "Hi, how are you?" I acknowledge your existence.
Since we spoke about District, then shout out to Baran.
Barrett.
That guy's a legend. He also did sound in Hot Bay for us.
Yeah.
Barrett is a
Barnes is
establishment.
just like my heart just goes out to him.
Yeah.
Like, Cape Town legend. He does basically the entirety of that entire Harrington Street sound. Like,
Legend.
He's got his monopoly.
yeah.
He really does. East City has been Barrett for a long time.
Raptor room closed, and he was like, "Okay, bet I'm
Let
just
me
gonna
take
hang
over
out at
Harrington
Sofa."
Street.
That was where I met him and actually had him
as
as a
well.
sound engineer for the
Yeah.
first time. Was at Raptor Room.
As well.
Likewise. And then one time I was just like, there was an event. It was like a dance party or something, and tickets were sold out. Just quickly called up Barent. I'm like, bro, please, like, get me on a list. He's like, of course, bro. And I only met him like once by then. And he's like, yeah, sure, of course.
Barent, we love
And ever
you.
since then,
people
like
are good.
literally, whenever I see Barent, smiles.
Yeah, man.
Yes, what a legend.
Yeah. And
Barent and Josh were the first two people to buy hard copies
Sure.
of my album. So that tells you a lot as well.
there you go. Barent, you're a legend. Sound engineers in general. We see you, we appreciate you. We
Hell yeah.
and we are the people that notice in the crowd when you're doing a good job.
Mm.
And we attribute it to you, not just the artist.
Mm.
I wanted to I had such a good question that was such a nice it wasn't quite a question. I just wanted to you mentioned when you released Serendipity, I sent you a message. I was like, dude, this song right now hitting in the field. It was just after it was around the time Hey Imagine released another, which was the chorus was about Gina that I'd written and then Jono stole and used. And Serendipity came out and I was like, this hits way too close to home. And it really did at the time.
Not sorry about
Well,
that.
hey, look where we are.
Yeah,
Here
man.
we are. Here we are.
That's kind of what I try and I don't know if it's too much of a philosophy thing, but I'm just trying to capture feelings. I'm trying to let. For me, the reason I got into music was because I had quite like a complex end to my high school, just like a lot of crazy personal life things that can happen in family dynamics and whatever. So that was kind of tumultuous, and that's the only time I really got into listening to music properly. Before it was just the base level. I see it as you have either base level music appreciation where you just enjoy how it sounds, or you have deeper musical listenership where you care about the words and you care about the vibrations and you want to. And I used music like Ben Howard, Bon Iver, some early Mumford & Sons, is that I feel completely full and whole if I give that to someone. If someone comes up to me after a show, or someone that has the CD, or someone that's listened to something on Spotify, like comes up to me and says that is really beautiful and I listened to it all night last night and it really helped. I want to cry every time. It's just like that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I had a really cool thing happen the other day. I skate around in Komaki a lot because it's lovely and there's beaches and stuff.
And Komaki and
I was skating to the green room, the local pub, to go for a quick beer, and I was skating down one of the back roads and I stopped and I was like, is my phone playing music? Like, did I automatically... And someone was just blaring the album, like, over the wall.
Oh, wow.
So I don't even know who it was.
Crazy.
But I just, like, skated past, thought I'd maybe, like, pocket dialed the play button a bit.
That's
and
so
it was
cool.
just track 3 off the album, just blaring.
sure,
Yeah.
that must have been special.
Yeah.
And,
But that's the thing, it's about capturing feelings, and it should be about letting people revisit things.
Yeah.
It's without sounding too cheesy, it's very healing music, It's and screw sounding cheesy anyway. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's supposed to heal you. It's supposed to move you. It's supposed to invigorate you. It's supposed to be an additive to your mood. It's supposed to enhance you. It's not supposed to just be background noise. That's not the core purpose of music. It simply cannot be. I refuse to exist in a world where that is the core purpose of music, is just to sound nice softly in the background. And those feelings kind of started out there. Serendipity was one of the first songs where I really, really felt like I had captured something. And kind of Serendipity was the song that made me decide to record the Fractals album. Straight up. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yeah,
that
this is a great
was...
How serendipitous.
I wanted to make that. I wanted to make that fun, but I'm glad you did.
I think that was the perfect note on which to wrap up the podcast. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
being
having
here.
me.
And
I kind of forgot we were recording a podcast. I'm just
yes,
having fun
that's the
talking
goal.
to you guys. Yeah.
There we go.
Super cool.
Thank you for sharing with us about your music and
Thank you for
the role
asking.
that you've played. And it's been such a cool month for me this month because I've had you on the podcast. A few people from those original shows played at the cafe, and it's just been really
Nice.
beautiful. And it's been a time of realizing how important that community is and how important it is that we come together and we support one another.
Yeah.
And it's been a really cool month of remembering that. Oh, excuse me. I'm not sure what camera is on right now. Hopefully both of them. Wonderful. Thank you so much for watching or listening, however you are consuming this. Check out Jonathan Stephen Simons. His Instagram will be in the bio. You can find out all his music on your favorite streaming platforms.
Yes.
Give him a follow. Check out the Fractal. Check out the old stuff. Check out Mountainside Sessions. Check it all out.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment. What are we going to comment today?
I don't like that.
I didn't
Comment
do it last
the
time.
words. I didn't like that. No, I'm joking.
No, that's the worst comment thread you could ever create for a YouTube video.
Just go to one of Jono's shows.
Go to
Yeah.
shows.
Go
Go
to
to
shows.
shows.
Just go to
Any
shows.
show.
Go to
Yeah.
shows is
Go
what
to
you should
live
comment.
music.
Comment a picture of you at a live show.
Yeah. I don't know if
There you
YouTube
go.
will let us do that. But
That's fine.
that's the moral of the story. Check out his music. Check out more local music. Have fun. Watch it live. Listen to it in your ears. And have a beautiful, beautiful day further.
In your
Thank
ears,
you.
in your face.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a
Hey.
Hey, that was so much fun, guys.
hello.
Oh,